Chapter 19. A Chance Discovery. Softly, Nancy Drew closed the door. One quick glance toward the stairway had convinced her that she could not hope to escape into the corridor. Already the old colored woman, oil lamp in hand, had nearly reached the landing. Fortunately, she was fat and awkward and could not move swiftly. Nancy was thankful for that. The ill-tempered parrot, which had been the cause of all the trouble, was now fully awakened. It began to flutter about angrily in its cage and to squawk louder than before. "Go away! Go away!" it screeched shrilly, cocking its head and eyeing her slyly. "Oh, hush up, you horrid bird!" Nancy murmured in an undertone as she scowled at the bird. "You've caused enough trouble as it is." She flashed her light about the room in a desperate attempt to find a hiding place. The room was bare of furniture. She rushed to the window and glanced hopefully out. There was no ledge, and the drop to the ground would be suicide. Nancy realized that she had never been in a more dangerous situation. She did not doubt that the old colored woman was as unscrupulous as her master, and what she would do if she found a stranger prowling in the house, Nancy dreaded to consider. At least she would turn her over to Nathan Gombet when he returned, and Nancy could think of no worse fate. Nervously, she gripped her revolver. If the necessity arose, could she defend herself? She had never shot a firearm in her life at anything but a target, and she knew that she could never bring herself to the point of injuring a human being deliberately, even to save herself from capture. Yet, the revolver would serve as a bluff, and perhaps as an effective one. "I can't afford to be caught here," she thought. "Even if I managed to escape, it would put an end to my investigation. I haven't learned half enough yet." In her prior survey of the bird room, Nancy had failed to notice a closet door directly behind the parrot's cage. Now, as her eyes turned again in that direction, she saw it for the first time. With a low exclamation of pleasure and belief, she glided toward it. Opening the door, she stepped inside and closed it after her. She was not an instant too soon, for scarcely had she entered the dark recess when she heard the room door open. The colored woman came waddling into the room. She flashed her light into the corners of the room and looked about in a puzzled manner, as though unable to understand what had caused the commotion of the birds. "Go away! Go away!" the parrot cackled, harping on its eternal theme. "Polly wants a cracker." "How comes you so excited tonight, Talkbird?" the woman demanded crossly. "You carries on like a fool with all yo' squawking and speechifying." "Go away! Go away!" the parrot repeated mechanically, fluttering its wings and swinging saucily on its cage trapeze. "Oh, never mind," the negress grunted. "I'll go away all right, but before I go, I's going to cut off your conversation." Provoked that the bird had caused her to make a special trip upstairs, she picked up a piece of heavy canvas from the floor and flung it over the parrot's cage. "I reckon that'll hold you for a spell," she muttered. The parrot gave a last dismal squawk and then became quiet. The woman stood beside the bird cage, regarding it with satisfaction. She was not more than a yard or two from the closet door, and if she had reached out her hand, she could have touched the handle. Fearful lest she be discovered, Nancy pressed herself against the wall of the closet and remained motionless. She felt a tiny little knob pressing uncomfortably into the hollow of her back, but without a light she could not see what it was. Later, if she escaped detection, She intended to investigate. Now, she knew that the slightest noise would bring the enemy down upon her in an instant. For some reason, the colored woman showed an inclination to remain even after she had covered the birdcage. Perhaps she sensed a foreign presence in the room. At all events, she stood near the closet, listening. Now, she knew that the slightest noise would bring the enemy down upon her in an instant. For some reason, the colored woman showed an inclination to remain even after she had covered the birdcage. Perhaps she sensed a foreign presence in the room. At all events, she stood near the closet, listening. The room was silent, save for the twittering of the canaries. Nancy held her breath in suspense. Would she be discovered? It was a nerve-wracking moment. Again, the woman flashed her light about the room, but she did not turn toward the closet. After a last careful look around, she moved heavily toward the door. There she paused and appeared to reflect. "Can't make out what upset that there bird all of a sudden," she said to herself. "Reckons I ain't gonna take no chances." With that, she went out and closed the door behind her. Nancy heard a peculiar grating sound, but was at a loss to explain it. The colored woman shuffled down the corridor, and as she descended the stairs to the lower floor, her footsteps gradually died away. After waiting several minutes, Nancy emerged from her hiding place. The air had become unpleasantly stuffy within the closet, and she was glad to get out. Avoiding the parrot cage, she crept noiselessly to the door. She grasped the knob and pulled, but to her astonishment, the door did not open. Again she tried, but without success. The door was locked. Now Nancy comprehended the significance of the peculiar grating noise she had heard directly after the negress had left the room. It was the sound of a key turning in the lock. She, Nancy Drew, was a prisoner in the bird room, the Chamber of Horrors. "Now what shall I do?" Nancy questioned herself miserably. "Oh, why did I ever come to this horrible place anyway?" She sank down on the floor and tried to think of a way out of the predicament, but could not. Her zest for adventure had been her undoing. "If I ever get out of here alive, I'll think twice before I go blundering into anything like this again," she promised herself. Presently, she walked over to the window and glanced toward the Turnbull mansion. If only she could wish herself safely back into her own room. "And the worst part of it is that I haven't discovered what I came to find out," she mourned. "I'm sure there is a secret panel in this house, but now I'll never find it. I'm certain it wouldn't be in this room." Because there was nothing else to do, she began a half-hearted examination of the walls. As she had expected, she found nothing of interest. She was about to give up in disgust when a sudden thought came to her. She recalled the knob she had felt within the closet. Probably it was nothing, but at least it would do no harm to have a look at it. Flashing her light into the closet, she focused it upon the knob in question. It was a tiny thing and appeared to have no special purpose. Certainly it was not the right size to serve as an object upon which to hang clothing. "I wonder what it is for?" the girl asked herself. Curiously, Nancy stepped inside the closet and twisted the knob. She thought she heard a clicking noise. Was it only imagination? Eagerly, she examined the back wall of the closet, and her interest quickened. In the dim light, she could make out a long crack. She tapped the wall with her knuckles, and it had a hollow sound. I believe I've stumbled upon something important, Nancy thought excitedly. With all her might, she pushed upon the knob. Unexpectedly, a spring clicked, and the entire side of the closet wall dropped down. Nancy struggled to maintain her balance, but could not. She toppled forward and fell headlong down a steep flight of stone steps. A low cry of pain escaped her, and then she lay still. End of chapter 19.